Okay, I hadn't had a blog in a while, video blog. Had a birthday, and a bunch of stuff Friday, stuff Saturday. I met an old friend from high school I hadn't seen in 24 years. Uh, I really didn't go into as much detail in offensive operations as defensive, but like I said, they both go down to tactical levels. So when I go back to offensive tactics, recover operations. I'm gonna just wrap up defensive operations part A. I discussed part C, and then went back to A, and I gotta do B, and then I'll wrap it up with C. But main thing in defensive operations, linearly facing an opposing army groups, is accurate intel, knowing where the enemy troops are massed, uh, having your, of course, defensive line, your fallback lines, and your main thing is elasticity, which means, your defensive line can bend into a bulge either backward or forward, or flexibility, which means you go on the counterattack when they're not suspecting it, and freedom of movement, and that goes to your HQ operational reserve units, which are usually armored units and motorized infantry. And your operational reserve units are the biggest part of linear defensive warfare. Like I said, you have to have elasticity. Your line can bend but not break, or bulge out but not break. You have to have flexibility and counterattack, enforce recon when you can, hit and run, do as much damage. And the main thing is those operational reserve units. Those are basically firefighting units. They put out fires. If your defensive line's about to fall and open up a corridor breach, use those operational reserve units to stem the breach corridor, cut off whatever troops made it through, and then counterattack. Your operational reserve units on one 24-hour period might travel 100 clicks north, fight it out, turn around and go 200 clicks south, fight it out, turn around and go 75 clicks north, fight it out, turn around and go 280 clicks south, fight it out. If you're facing numerically superior odds, it's best to shorten your linear line of defense versus having it strung out and basically strung out with not enough people to cover the area. So you want to shorten that line, even if it creates pockets, as I talked about in offensive operations, for people to bypass. But that goes to total war strategy. You should have army groups that are operational reserve units to they try to bypass, and you lengthen the short of your defensive line to take care of any troops bypassing when you shorten your defensive line. And in doing so, that protects your right and left flanks versus being strung out. It's very hard to be strung out and protect your flanks. That's asking for a breach, corridor, disaster. So a lot of times you need to shorten the line and leave actual open corridors for another army group to handle if they bypass your group. And always, always never get pocketed by double envelopment pincer movement. If you shorten your width of linear defense, you always have to have a strong rear guard for fight and retreat, and a strong front guard for fight and retreat. The rear guard punches the hole back to the next defensive line, and the forward fighting retreat elements hold off the enemy while you move supplies, logistics, troops, army vehicles, tanks, whatever. So I guess since I skipped into Total War, my next blog will wrap that up. That's another major defensive operation. And then I'll go to the third, which is kind of a defensive operation, but on a different level, so to speak. But it's cool out. I'm trying to beat the crowd, get lunch early. Like I said, I had a good time with my high school buddy I hadn't seen in 24 years. And that pretty much wraps up linear defensive operations. The main thing is freedom of movement, flexibility, elasticity, and in the technical order, it's freedom of movement, elasticity, and last flexibility. That's 1 to 3 correctly. But that's it for the linear defensive operations. Since I went ahead and talked about Total War, I'll wrap that up, which I was going to do C, but I just talked about it early, and then I'll do B last, which is kind of a funny defensive operation. But well, y'all have a good Sunday. I'm going to chill. Later.